Happy day everybody, my name is Jeremy and this is Barbecue Elementary. And today I'll be putting my barbecue skills to the test with a little challenge I've set up with my wife. I'll be picking the spices and seasonings, but she'll be surprising me with the meat and the veggies. I have no idea what's coming, but I'm hoping to make something delicious. Let's go! Before we get started, let's lay down the ground rules I had to follow for this challenge. Number 1, every single ingredient I pick has to go in the dish. Number 2, every single ingredient my wife picks also has to go in the same dish. No sides, no backups, one plate or bowl. And lastly, I have to smoke or barbecue the meat and veggies she gives me. No pans, no stoves, no ovens, it all has to happen over the fire. So let's get started. For my ingredients, I started with black pepper and salt, of course, olive oil, then I grabbed some smoked paprika, some chili flakes, some granulated garlic that I think just goes nice with everything, some cayenne red pepper to spice up whatever it is I'll be making, and the curveball, rice vinegar. Once everything was assembled, it was time to find out what all these spices we're going to be working with. I told my wife I was ready, so she reached into a bag and pulled out something I've seen and have always been a little intrigued by. Beef shaved steak.
What? What are you talking about? What? What? What?
You heard that right, beef shaved steak, which is exactly what it sounds like. Very thinly shaved beef. This should be very interesting. Typically you throw it into a pan and make a cheesesteak or something with it, so I definitely will have to get creative. Because it is so thin it could be very easy to mess up by burning or over seasoning. Now, on to the mystery vegetable, which is a couple of sweet potatoes, which honestly gave me a ton of inspiration. I wasn't really seeing the vision of the shaved steak until I saw the potatoes on the board next to everything. A light bulb had come on and I was ready to go. The first thing I needed to do was prep the longest cooking part of the dish, which in this case was the sweet potato. So I grabbed the sheet pan and the necessary ingredients, which in this case is the olive oil, salt, pepper, and smoked paprika, and got to work by peeling these bad boys and then cubing them into about 1.5 inch imperfect cubes. Sweet potatoes, luckily, are actually a really diverse ingredient. Even a single style of preparation can be served in almost any dish alongside almost any protein or simply served by themselves. And for this challenge, I'll be using them as extra texture, flavor, and a supplemental ingredient in a rice bowl alongside the steak. Like I said, these can stay fairly imperfect shape-wise, but I would really try and make sure that they are all around the same size to ensure that they cook evenly and finish at the same time. There's nothing like biting into a semi-cooked sweet potato when you're expecting it to be nice and soft. Once they were all chopped up, I placed all the potatoes I'd be using into the pan to season and threw some of the extras into a deli to cook for breakfast later this weekend. I then doused these little sweeties with some olive oil and gave them a slight toss before seasoning with some kosher salt and a nice freshly cracked black pepper. Then I just gave them a little kiss of smoked paprika. If you wanted to, you could give them more than that, but you'll need to ask your wife first. She might not like it too spicy. The idea for these is to smoke them instead of putting them into an oven, so I turned the Traeger on to get preheated. I also remembered that if I'm smoking these, I'd need a proper surface for good airflow, so I carefully transferred the sweet potatoes to a chicken rack instead of the pan. If you wanted to, you could do it right on the grates in the Traeger, but you'll need to ask your wife first. She might not like it too spicy. While the Traeger was preheating to 275 degrees, I decided I'd start a marinade for the shaved steak. I honestly kind of improvised this, but it was quite simple. I used 2 tablespoons of the rice vinegar to give it a little pop. Then I added 1 tablespoon of olive oil and a couple of cloves of garlic. Then I added salt and pepper to taste and mixed it up real good before grabbing a container that would more easily hold all of the beef and marinade and put everything inside of it. When I grabbed these ingredients, I was hoping to be able to use them in a marinade of some sort, so I am pretty lucky that I was given this steak. For one, it should go really well with beef, and two, because it's sliced so thin it won't take too much time to take on a good amount of the flavor. which means that the hour or so that these sweet potatoes are smoking should be plenty of time to marinate as well as cook the steak. After about 45 minutes, which ended up being halfway for the sweet potatoes, I went ahead and prepped the Weber kettle. My idea here was to cook the steak over direct heat using charcoal. Ideally, I wish I had a little Japanese Binchotan grill, but this works well enough. I did only use about 1/5 of a chimney's amount of charcoal because I wanted to make sure not to overcook and burn the steak. While the coals were heating up, I prepped a little dressing to put into the final product. I used about 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar, a tablespoon of olive oil, a teaspoon of that granulated garlic, a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a tablespoon or 2 of honey, with a little pinch or 2 of kosher salt, and about 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Then I gave it a good shake, and that's all there is to it. After about an hour or so in the marinade, it was time to grill up this meat, or at least try. The Weber grates were definitely a little too big, so I did lose some of the meat in between them, but I did do my best to lay everything as flat as possible to avoid that. There is definitely no need to cook these to any specific temperature because it is so thin, so I just made sure everything was cooked through and had a color I liked before pulling all the meat to assemble the bowl. Round about the same time as the meat came off of the grill, it was time to check on and pull out the potatoes. I don't think I've ever smoked a sweet potato before, so I was a little curious about how it would go, but they were really stinking good. Off camera, I used a rice cooker to cook some rice to use as a base for the bowl. And with that, the cook was done and the bowl was ready to assemble, which meant it was time to give myself some grades for this challenge. For the cook, I think I did well considering the improvisational nature of the task I'd given myself. Everything went smoothly and I was able to use all of the ingredients without straining myself, so I'll go ahead and give the cook portion a B+. Presentation wise, I'll just say that the bowl looked a lot better in my head, so for that reason, I'll give myself a D with a lot of room to improve. I also think that some of the best tasting dishes don't always look the best, and this dish fell firmly into that category. Now I know there's probably a lot more I could have done with the steak and sweet potatoes. I had to remind myself that I was forced to use the ingredients that I had chosen, and think that what I did within those confines actually turned out a pretty delicious and balanced dish. Not too spicy, not too sweet, the potatoes were soft inside with a slight crisp on the outside, and the steak took on the marinade well. I do wish I could have added some sort of fresh lettuce to scoop, but to give myself a grade for what I did have, I'll say B-, which brings the overall grade for this cook to about a C+. Which, beyond the grade, I was really proud that I could take a few random ingredients and make something that I actually enjoyed. I'm looking forward to take on some more challenges like this in the future. And as always, thanks a million for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't to follow me along on my adventures through Barbecue Elementary.